Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday. And on the menu this Saturday, we have Twinkle Star Sprites, the classic versus Shoot 'em Up, now available as a NEO GEO Arcade Archive title. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. Originally releasing for the NEO GEO in 1996, Twinkle Star Sprites is a unique blend of a couple different styles of gameplay. It kind of takes that two-player versus puzzle game action and combines it with the frantic action of a shoot 'em up. The game would receive several notable console ports, including the Sega Saturn, the PlayStation 2, and the Dreamcast, though the most notable is the Sega Saturn. That's generally considered the best as it had a lot of additional extras that the Dreamcast and the PlayStation ports would not have. So fast forward to 2018 and we have Twinkle Star Sprites as a NEO GEO Arcade Archive Collection title. So jumping into the game itself, we're taken to a mode select screen. Here we can select competitive mode, that's basically your versus if you want to play against another human, the story mode, which you follow the main character load run, and the character mode. Character mode lets you select load run or any of the other 8 characters that are available, and there are also 4 other secret characters, which the manual for the Arcade Archive Collection will go and show you how to unlock. For our purposes today though, we'll show you the game from load run's perspective. You also have your shot, your speed, and your weapon displayed there. Each character has different attributes for their shot, their speed, and their weapon attacks. So basically, we'll go and show you that as the game goes on. So, each character has, or rather, you and your opponent have one side of the screen. We both have regular shots, though each character is a little bit different. You also have the ability to charge up your shot, somewhat based on that meter at the bottom of the screen. And characters also have a bomb, of which you start with 2, and it is possible to store up to 4. So, what are we trying to do here? Well, each character has a set life at the top of the screen. We start with 5 hearts, and we're trying to damage our enemy to the point where they no longer have any life. If we happen to take a hit from the enemies on our side of the screen, we'll lose a heart as well as be stunned momentarily, or if we take a shot from a boss character which the enemy can throw at you, then you'll also lose 1 heart. If you take a hit from any of the enemy's attack characters that we're getting sent over, and that I'll explain here in just a second, then you'll take 3 hearts of damage. So, what's the point of the game? Well, we're trying to set up chains against our opponent by defeating the enemies. If you get a chain of 4 or greater, you'll send attack characters to the other side of the screen. And these are basically fireballs that your opponent will have to dodge, or if they get hit, well, then you'll be that much closer to victory. But it's also possible for them to send these attack characters back at you. And in that way, it's also possible to counterattack by shooting those attack characters back or catching them in additional chain explosions for a reversal. And if you do this enough times, you'll get extra characters which are unique to each character getting sent at the enemy. Those extra characters can also be sent over by charging up and firing level 2 or higher shot. And if we happen to go and fill up that meter at the bottom of our screen all the way, we can send a boss character attack at our opponent. Of course, they can also do this at us. And this provides for this awesome back and forth gameplay where we're just frantically throwing all these fireballs back and forth. There are power-ups that you can pick up to give yourself more bombs to pop bubbles on the screen, and there's this orb that if you catch it in a chain explosion, that you'll get a special fever time where every single explosion you cause on your side of the screen sends attacks at the enemies, basically engulfing their side of the screen in a wave of flame. a good way to take them out, though it is possible to use your bombs to get yourself out of sticky situations. And that is your basic gameplay for Twinkle Star Sprites. It's really fun and enjoyable when you're versus the computer, but the game really shines when you play it 2-player against a human opponent. So when you're going up against a human player, you want to choose competitive mode, and once you've selected that, then you'll be brought to the character select, where you each get to select one of the characters that's available. So as I was mentioning before, each character has a different shot, speed, and weapon style attacks that you can use. Since this is an arcade game, there is a time limit to the amount of time you have to pick your character. Then once you're in, it's on. So the same rules apply. You're trying to destroy the enemies in such a way that they chain explosion into each other to send attacks at your opponent. Of course, your opponent is also doing the same towards you, and unlike the computer that's like really good at, well, depending on the levels, dodging and countering your attacks, there's like a certain level of, well, just like competition that you don't have fighting the computer when you're fighting one of your friends, or like rivals, as the case may be. The game itself also has a really great pixel presentation, with the background being beautifully animated and like scrolling even though it's like split down the middle. So one of the things that's really enjoyable about the game is all the different kinds of attacks that you can get from your opponents and your attacks. So you get to see all the different types of extra characters and boss characters that you can potentially get fighting against. Oh no! Fighting against either the computer or another person. So that's Twinkle Star Sprites served up for your enjoyment. So minus flavors. As far as minus flavors are concerned, one issue that the original NEO GEO title has is a fair bit of slowdown. There's a lot going on, and sometimes it's a bit much for the system to keep up with. That's something that's mitigated to a certain extent, I feel, by its sequel that was released on the PlayStation 2. Twinkle Star Sprites, La Petite Princesse. That one, I feel, although it has an overall slower pace, is still a really enjoyable game. But then another minus flavor is there's no, for such an old title, there's no online multiplayer. And the game really is best when you can play against another human. But as far as the pluses are concerned, the major plus flavor is just this unique, frantic blend of the shoot 'em up and puzzle genre, where you're fighting against your opponent, and it's just so much fun. That really is the best I can say about it. If you've never played Twinkle Star Sprites, this arcade archive release is a great way to play it, and I highly encourage you to pick it up and try it out on any of the platforms that it's available on. The Nintendo Switch, the Xbox One, like all of it. It would definitely be worth your money and your time to play this game. Alright, that'll just about wrap it up for this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining me this week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.